Annie Bell Hanna was 27 years old when she went missing. On the morning of April 10th, 1952, she got up and went to work at her local Walgreens pharmacy in Syracuse, New York. She would never come back home. There aren't many photos of Annie, but we do have these two taken shortly after one another. When you put them under a minor restoration, you can see that Annie had a nice smile and bright eyes. Unfortunately, little was ever found about her disappearance, and she is still missing to this day. Let's fast forward a little bit. It's now July of 1988, and a 12-year-old boy is digging in his backyard when he comes across something terrifying. Beneath the dirt are the skeletal remains of a young woman who has been buried there head first. She's believed to have died in the late 50s to early 60s, which was well before the 12-year-old boy's house was even built. Investigators would be dispatched and, after assessing the remains, would come to the conclusion that the cause of death was homicide, despite the fact that the woman's body exhibited no signs of trauma. This was due to the suspicious nature of her death, and she was most likely a teenager when she died. Unfortunately, the true identity of the deceased woman has never been determined. She has been nicknamed Irondequoit Jane Doe after the town where she was discovered. You may not be familiar with this case, but you have likely seen some of the facial reconstructions made in the 80s by William Rodriguez. These show a pale and uncanny figure whose teeth are exposed and eyes are wide. The reconstruction was done with clay and features a wig on top. This next reconstruction was done with pencils and shows a similar yet different take on what Irondequoit Jane could have looked like. Nonetheless, the drawing is very eerie, whether it be because the eyes are piercing or because we know that this girl potentially suffered a horrific death. Most recently, this version was created by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It's 3D and shows a side-to-side rendering. What's interesting is that this young girl disappeared in the 1950s, and it's hard to believe that in a small town like Irondequoit, nobody would bat an eye. You would think that a missing child would lead to some sort of news coverage or some type of written evidence, but as far as we know, it's like this girl never existed in the first place. This has led a lot of people to believe that the girl was not a local, but instead from another city. Perhaps this city was Syracuse, and Irondequoit Jane Doe is actually Annie Bell Hanna. Annie's work was roughly an hour and 20 minutes away from where Irondequoit Jane Doe was eventually found. When it comes down to the few details that we do know, they match up surprisingly well. Annie was said to be between 5'2" and 5'5", and Irondequoit Jane was estimated to be between 4'10" and 5'5". Annie disappeared in 1952, which aligns almost perfectly with Irondequoit Jane's post-mortem interval of 30 years. This is just a theory, however. There are a number of different possibilities as to the true identity of Irondequoit Jane Doe, and as internet mysteries go, this one has remained unsolved. The cases of Annabelle Hanna and Irondequoit Jane Doe are a lot easier than the case we are about to cover. I'm going to do my best to talk about it in a way that meets YouTube's community guidelines, but for an uncensored version as well as a descriptive reading of a woman's final journal entry, please consider subscribing to the Something Sinister Patreon, link in the description below. There you get early, ad-free, uncensored content, as well as the opportunity to talk to me directly and let me know what kind of content you would like to see. You also get to be a part of this wonderful community, which shows at the end of every Something Sinister upload, and you get all of this for the low price of $5 a month. Link in the description. Okay, on with the video. LiveJournal is a blogging platform that was created in 1999. For many, it served as an online diary and a means of sharing one's thoughts. In 2003, user Delia Day would begin writing about her life as a female sex slave. Routine readers would become accustomed to reading about Delia's relationship with her partner, who she would often describe as dominant, often subjecting her to sexual practices involving pain, both mentally and physically. She would refer to this partner as her owner. After reading through some of the comments left on her entries, I was surprised by the amount of people feeding into Delia's pain. This comment, listed under one of Delia's entries, reads, "You are a totally adorable and gorgeous person. It's obvious you love each other very much. I wish you many, many years of accepting each other so thoroughly and having lovely, painful, intense experiences together." On December 1st, 2003, Delia would make her final post to LiveJournal before something horrible happened. The entry is titled "Locked Up Tight." Here, Delia says that she was doing some work around the house before her owner returned home around 2 p.m. From here, the owner does something horrific to her. He opens up a padlock and puts it around her, private parts. Delia explains the discomfort she experiences in detail, but says that she wants to please her owner. She fears that he will not be unlocking the padlock anytime soon, and this is where the entry ends. In the early hours that night, Delia's owner would die from a shotgun blast to the chest, and police investigations would reveal a number of previously unknown details. These include the fact that Delia Day's name was actually Susan Anton. Susan had created the Delia LiveJournal as a means of expressing her deviant sexual desires. This included extreme forms of BDSM, like Delia, or Susan's, husband sticking clothespins all throughout her face. Throughout all of this, Susan was a consenting partner and would often speak highly of her husband or owner in her LiveJournal entries. Their friends and family, however, knew nothing of these erotic adventures they took with one another, nor the Delia Day LiveJournal itself. These details, however, would inevitably be shared throughout the news and other media when the following article was released, reading, "Marital discord may have caused the violent death of Travis Anton. He was found dead from a shotgun wound to the chest at the early age of 33 years old. Susan would be jailed following this, but ultimately released after a grand jury decided that Travis's murder was in self-defense. The exact events leading up to Travis's death remain somewhat of a mystery. Susan's release has caused people to believe that maybe their sex life was not as consensual as written about on the blog. This assumption has even led some people to believe that Travis was the one actually writing the blog the entire time. It was later revealed that the site was even registered under his name, even though Susan was supposedly the author. This would make the entire LiveJournal catalog even more disturbing. As mentioned before, the blog goes at lengths to praise Travis and his love. If he were to be the actual author, it's like reading what he wished Susan would have said to him. Susan has since created a blog titled Invisible Survivor, where she went into more depth about the matter, but it has since been deleted, further pushing the question at hand: who is the true author of the Delia Day's LiveJournal? 101.8. This is a clip from a video called Persephone Numbers Station. It's a nearly 4-minute clip of black and white footage featuring a distorted woman. Throughout the clip, amidst the strange frequency sounds, she clearly says a pattern of numbers. When written out, they read like this. If you use translation from the American Standard Code of Information Interchange, the numbers read Evident Agenda. This form of code is not exclusive to the Persephone Numbers Station video. In fact, numbers stations are shortwave broadcasts of numbers, or sometimes Morse code, that carry important information. While this video uploaded by Cap'n Sonic has 2.9 million views, it was actually originally uploaded in 2006 and is now part of a partially lost ARG. The original upload shows a darker version of the video that we have already seen, but the woman appears to be upside down in the frame. The phrase spoken by the woman, "evident agenda," was a password that players of the ARG needed to access a certain website. The ARG is known as the Lost Experience and was designed by the writers and producers of the famous Lost TV show to engage fans and expand on the storyline during the hiatus between Season 2 and Season 3. So while we know where the audio comes from, who is the woman featured in Persephone Numbers Station? The image itself is very reminiscent of Why You Never Became a Dancer, which featured an altar photograph of a young woman who was the victim of a Japanese serial killer. Well, as a part of the Lost ARG, on May 3rd of 2006, the following video was uploaded.
Welcome to the Hansel Foundation, where you can experience all of the social and scientific endeavors we are pioneering to make your world a better place. On your left here, please choose any of our programs to see exactly what we're working on, or find more content here and here. Make sure you also sign up to our newsletter so the Hansel Foundation can keep you up to date on our latest exciting developments. Thank you, and namaste.
What you just saw was the intro to the Hanso Foundation website, which was a special website that players of the ARG could access with the aforementioned evident agenda password. The woman shown in the video shares a very close resemblance to the woman shown in the Persephone Numbers Station video. While this is not confirmed, it's hard to deny their resemblance to one another. This woman has not been identified, nor does her character have a name in the ARG itself. As such, the true identity of the Persephone Numbers Station figure remains a mystery. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider subscribing to Something Sinister, as I post content like this all the time. Here is our final mystery. On March 12th of this year, Reddit user CoolManRebro posted this photograph with the following caption. I saw this picture today on Instagram, and it was the first picture on a video explaining an urban legend called Class After 6 o'clock. I think this image was supposed to be a floating teacher or something, but I couldn't find anything on that urban legend online really. I reverse image searched it and found a couple of the same image, but nothing really leading to what it actually is or what the origin is. Does anybody know any info on this image? It seems to be from a non-English speaking origin, but I'm not entirely sure. The photo itself shows what appears to be a classroom full of students. Towards the center of the frame is what we can assume is their teacher. The image is edited to look like your typical sensational YouTube thumbnail with the red circle and an arrow pointing to it. The photo is often seen accompanying an Indonesian horror story where students had night lessons. This was acknowledged briefly in the Reddit post with the title Class After 6 o'clock. If the photograph is indeed Indonesian in origin, what's actually going on with the teacher at the front of the room? Are they actually floating, or is this all just a case of mistaken identity? When doing a reverse image search, you can find results for this Japanese website, which highlights the strange photograph. The rumor says that this is a night class, and when the kids showed up, the teacher was standing at the front of the room in silence. At this point, the students receive a message from their teacher via email that says, "Sorry, I can't come to class after all." The students look up in horror, realizing that the strange person that looks like their teacher is in fact some sort of imposter. Following these stories, it would be revealed that the image was taken by an Indonesian student at a university. The university's public relations director would make a video stating that the stories and rumors accompanying this image have tarnished the university's image and that there is nothing strange or supernatural about it. The photo was said to have been initially posted to Facebook, however, it has never been confirmed. All we have is this blurry screenshot that was exchanged via text messages between students at the university. Given that the internet tends to sensationalize these things, it wouldn't surprise me if this photo was actually something completely mundane and taken drastically out of context, but I suppose one can never be too sure.